Body of former President His Excellency Dr. Liverpool returned home to rest. Government discusses National Sports Council and Chief Medical Officer speaks out against child abuse. Thank you for joining us on another edition of National Focus. I'm Kimani.
And I'm Tasia Floissac. Stay with us for details on these and other stories after the break.
You're watching GIS.
Thank you for staying with us. The body of the late former President of Dominica was returned home on Tuesday, June 9th. Dr. Nicholas Liverpool has had a long and illustrious career in law and is renowned throughout the Caribbean region and wider world. With beginnings at the Dominica Grammar School, Dr. Liverpool went on to earn his doctorate in 1965 in England. He has lectured in Ghana, helped to open a law school for the government of the Bahamas, and was the Dean of the University of the West Indies. Dr. Liverpool served as High Court Judge in Antigua and in Montserrat, and a Justice of Appeal in Grenada, Belize, and the Bahamas. He also served as Dominica's ambassador to the United States, as well as on several boards, tribunals, and commissions, including the UNESCO Governing Board. Former President His Excellency Liverpool was awarded and invested by HRH, the Duke of Castro, as a Knight Grand Cross with Gold Star of the Sacred Military Constantinian Order of St. George in recognition of his contribution to law and Catholic life. In 2003, Dr. Liverpool was awarded the Dominica Award of Honor. The Pocasset to Marigot Road was named in his honor last year. News of his death has elicited messages of condolence from distinguished regional organizations and professionals to his family and his country. His Excellency Dr. Nicholas Joseph Orville Liverpool was Dominica's 6th president and served 2 terms. He died on June 1st, 2015, just 3 months before his 81st birthday. He will be laid to rest next Friday, June 19th. The entire island is officially in mourning.
In more news, Chief Medical Officer Dr. David Johnson says it is time that leaders in society do more to address the ills of child sexual abuse in Dominica. Dr. Johnson says these acts are not to be condoned and the perpetrators should be punished in every circumstance.
Rape and sexual assault are criminal offenses. The majority of perpetrators are someone who is usually known to the victim. According to the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network of the United States of America, approximately 2/3 of sexual assaults are committed by someone known to the victim. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, 2 out of every 3 persons who have been sexually assaulted have had some kind of close connection with the perpetrators. A crime is a crime. But it's one thing to sexually assault another adult, but quite an unpardonable crime, in my view, to abuse and sexually assault a minor. Society has to condemn these acts of crime. No one, and I repeat, no one, irrespective of relationship to the child, status in society, the color of their skin or hair, financial power or other types of power, or even people who know people, must be allowed to continue to commit the criminal offenses against our minors.
The Chief Medical Officer made the remarks at a stakeholders consultation on the response to rape and sexual assault cases in Dominica last month. He called for the amendment of the sexual offenses legislation.
For me, it is inconceivable that a hardback grown man would think of sexually abusing an 8, 10, 12 years old child. I've even been advised that much younger children, even infants, are sexually abused by persons entrusted with their care and protection. We as a society cannot turn a blind eye to this. It is wrong. Our sexual offences legislation must therefore be amended to ensure that all those who are aware of rape and sexual assault committed against a minor and do nothing to report it are guilty of an offence. And I see all legal persons are here. It can no longer be business as usual.
He says the burden lies on healthcare workers as much as the legal system to get it right when it comes to the ill treatment of minors.
As healthcare providers, we have an ethical and medical legal responsibility to victims of rape and sexual assaults. According to the World Health Organization, and I quote, victims of sexual assault require comprehensive gender-sensitive healthcare services in order to cope with their experiences, end of quote. Sexual assault is by nature extremely traumatic to the individual. Hence, the victim need expert management to help them cope with their recovery. Invariably, healthcare providers are required to give evidence as expert witness in the court. Hence, we have an enormous responsibility not only to provide care to the sexually assaulted victims, but also to ensure that justice is served. The criminal justice system and society on a whole must see us as healthcare providers as being part of the solution and not part of the problem in addressing sexual assaulted victims.
The Ministry of Youth, Sports, Culture and Constituency Empowerment held a consultation today, June 10th, on the development of a framework for the establishment of a National Sports Council. This is the continuation of an exercise which commenced several decades ago when government recognized the need for more effective and efficient management skills and structures in the organization of sports in Dominica. According to the Permanent Secretary for the Ministry, Mandra Fagan, the consultation marks an important milestone in the process of the establishment of a council. Fagan notes that plans for the creation of the council have been in the works for some time now.
Government's commitment to the development of sports through strengthening of the sports structure is evident in the draft sports policy of 2004, which also addresses the establishment of the National Sports Council and presents some information on its basic structure. It is anticipated that upon establishment of the council, the sports policy can then be fully effective.
She says the presence of the stakeholders is critical in the development of the council.
The presence of the various sporting associations and other stakeholders is no coincidence, as your contribution to this process is critical to the successful establishment and operation of the council. We believe that you are best placed to advise the government on this important administrative matter, as the council is meant to serve you, the stakeholders. Government does not intend to impose a governance structure on you, but instead, we would like to engage you in the process to obtain your valuable input and contributions so that at the end of the exercise, the council will be designed by you in a manner which is best suited to serve you.
Addressing the consultation, the Honorable Minister for Youth, Sports and Culture, Justina Charles, says that it is her ministry's hope that this process will provide citizens with greater accountability and transparency.
Many of our citizens, sports enthusiasts, and consumers of sports in general have called for greater accountability in the administering of our sports operations or programs. We strongly believe that this process will provide transparency and a greater level of accountability. The final product will lead to improvements at all levels, since it is our belief that a well-crafted sports policy supported by adequate legislation and structures will contribute to the development of character, the spirit of citizenship, and the strengthening of our communities.
The minister also believes that stakeholder participation is vital.
What about the delivery of structured sports programs to the general community, such as the seniors, the disabled, the marginalized, and the underprivileged? These are sectors which are generally overlooked in the planning process, hence the need for bringing together all key stakeholders to ensure that all bases are covered and that a well-developed system is put in place for the effective delivery of sports.
GIS News will bring you more on this consultation in a subsequent newscast. You're watching National Focus. Still to come, coordinator of the Child Abuse Prevention Unit gives update on plans of the division. Stay with us.
Did you know the Caribbean Court of Justice is 2 courts in 1? The CCJ has 2 functions: an original jurisdiction, which deals with your right to move between CARICOM countries freely and your right to move your money and your business. This is the basis of the CARICOM Single Market and Economy, CSME, and the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, and an appellate jurisdiction to hear appeals from courts of those countries which decide to use it as their final court of appeal and no longer go to the Privy Council. All CARICOM member states who have signed the agreement establishing the CCJ are members of the CCJ.
Welcome back. In response to the recent increase in cases of child abuse being reported, the Social Welfare Division and the Child Abuse Prevention Unit has been on a quest to eliminate the plague of child abuse in Dominica. A number of meetings, workshops, and activities have been taking place over the last few months to sensitize the public on the signs and effects of child abuse and to increase early detection as well as prevention. GIS News caught up with coordinator of the Child Abuse Prevention Unit, Gemma Luce, who gave an update on some of these meetings with stakeholders, including members of the religious community. She says that following this meeting, the response from the religious community has been phenomenal.
We have met recently with religious officials of faith-based organizations, and as follow-up to that, we have received invitations to have talks in churches, down to open-air talks. Persons have also using it in their church as Sunday morning service instead of doing the normal. Persons are now bringing in the issue of child protection, child abuse in the morning services, in Bible study. These are also being discussed. So these are some of the things that we were hoping to see based on the consultation that was done with the religious officials, and we must say that we have seen success, because the religious officials are indeed making a way forward and implementing activities in their church to ensure that children remain protected.
The coordinator also revealed that the peer counselors meeting with high school students was also a success.
The children were very open as to revealing what they saw as issues in terms of child sexual abuse. And of course we have to take children into consideration, because a lot of the times we make decisions for the children, but we have to realize that when we are making decisions, the children should have a right to say something. It's not about making decisions for them, but making decisions with them. So we saw the peer counselors as working with them, with the children, their peers, because a lot of the times the first line of contact with a child is their peers. They have been abused sexually, physically, whatever it may be, but they would not tell their parents, but they tell their peers. Hence the whole intention of keeping a workshop with the peer counselors. And what we have done at the end is to form a peer support network. So we have taken a group of children, peer counselors from all the secondary schools who were represented, and what our next step now is to formulate program and activities with these peer counselors so that they will go ahead and implement activities in their respective schools.
Azil Luce gave an update as to what the division has planned next.
We are also continuing our public education drive. Our next sessions, we are going to meet with education officials, health officials in terms of looking over our guidelines and for reporting child abuse. Because yes, we tell people to report, but there must be proper guidelines and protocols in place when reporting so that that report does not get lost along the way or that child gets the necessary help that they need.
And finally, this news time, Head of Plant Protection and Quarantine Unit, Ryan Anselm, has cited the use of chemicals as a possible cause for the spread of a new pest affecting agriculture in the La Plaine area. Residents in the southeast of the island, specifically La Plaine, continue to battle with the dreaded scale insect, which is currently affecting food-bearing crops as well as forest vegetation in that part of the island. Through research, the Ministry of Agriculture has decided that the best way to arrest the situation is to release beetles in the area. Anselm says the absence of beetles in La Plaine may be as a result of the use of harmful chemicals.
We have not found these 4 beetles in La Plaine. These beetles that we're going to introduce, we found it in the botanical gardens, and we have not found it. All the surveillance activities we're doing, we have not found it in La Plaine, which means the area was disturbed by chemical spraying or it must be chemical spraying. So there's no beetles in La Plaine. We cannot say we haven't found any, and that's why the population increased like that.
He says other possibilities could be climate change and the introduction of cut plants from foreign countries into that part of the island. The head of plant protection indicated that working with beetles takes time, but the Ministry of Agriculture is positive that it is on the right path.
I just want to tell you that research on these things it takes time. You have to get the right beetle. We tried all the ladybird beetles, and some of them will not hit the scale. So you have to come back, try more beetles, try more beneficial insects, and then when you get the right one, the target the scale, and that is what we have. We found 4 of them.
Now to multiply it.
And then now what we're doing now there, when the work that we're doing in the lab, we see that they are laying eggs on the scale insect, they are multiplying on it, and the generation, the young one, is feeding on it, and they're feeding on it quickly. So that itself is a plus for us, and the research that we've done with other countries in South Africa, they are telling us this is the beetle that got result for them in South Africa. So we are on the right track.
Last week, the Honorable Minister for Agriculture, Johnson Drygo, other officials of the Ministry of Agriculture, and the Honorable Parliamentary Representative for La Plaine, Peter Saint-Jean, walked through the community to see firsthand the damage caused by this pest. After the visit, the delegation met residents and pleaded with the community to not allow the pest to spread island-wide.
La Plaine has to save Dominica from the scale insect. So we're asking you, in our quarantine and our containment measures, you have to assist us. I don't want you to say, I'm Monsieur Anselm Kapale-Kotla, and give your friend from other places cut flowers. Okay, that is serious. I want you to take that back home, that you're going to take a decision to protect Dominica from that scale while we put the management strategy in La Plaine.
GIS will continue to monitor this development and inform of the progress of the Ministry of Agriculture in its efforts to resolve this issue. And before we leave, here's an announcement. The Ministry of Tourism and Urban Renewal invites all business owners, residents and landowners of the city of Roseau to a very important stakeholder consultation to be held on Thursday, June 11, 2015 at 5 p.m. at the Arak House of Culture. The purpose of the meeting is to discuss matters relating to a proposed Urban Renewal Month project in keeping with urban renewal efforts towards enhancement of the city of Roseau. The Ministry of Tourism and Urban Renewal solicits your attendance and valued contribution at this important meeting. And that's the English segment of the news. McPherson St. Luce is next with Creole highlights.
Think water, think life. Water refreshes, restores, cleans, and enhances growth. Potable water is a benchmark for development. DOWASCO is serious about its mandate to ensure easy access to potable water island-wide and provide sewage services for a cleaner environment. DOWASCO is your water and sewage company.
Alors tout le monde, bienvenue à cette nouvelle en créole. Non moins, c'est McPherson St. Luce. Premièrement, travail pour bâtir un miroir tout pour basse avenue Douglas Charles pour mitigation l'âme la mer qui a rentré à ce chimela à ce cadre pour gouvernement. Parole celle la sortie du ministre Public Works, Honorable Ian Pinard.
Ça nous a fait avec Douglas Charles Airport c'est nous avons un problème et puis wave là qui a venu à la chimère. So ça nous a fait un design, nous avons un design estimé pour rock armor des maçons là pour enhance la mer à venir, il pas qu'à aller à la chimère. So nous avons fait ça, c'est un gros projet. But ça nous fait un projet là c'est $26 million. C'est un gros projet pour faire tout pareil là. So nous avons concentré position là où la mer a hit à la chimère. Et puis nous avons gardé comme ça. Et puis nous avons try work. Nous avons tapé l'argent pour commencer le projet ça.
On a nouvelle en consultation pour établir un conseil national pour sport en Dominique. Ça prend place de derrière. Plusieurs organisations sport joignent ou là discuter manière pour commencer le processus là. Ministre pour sport, Honorable Justin Charles, a doué ces consultations là.
Bon matin là, ça nous tenons une petite opening ceremony pour une consultation qui prend place parmi tous ces différents mondes sports en Dominique. Nous les tous les différents sports en Dominique, netball, football, basketball, tout sport, squash, tout bitin, nous menons tous ces mondes là ensemble pour nous, because we have during campaign nous parler contre sports establishment of National Sports Council. Et bien ça sont bitin qui en les livre pour un long temps. Autant d'années, il y avait rien pour qu'on fait contre National Sports Council. So ça nous allons faire, c'est nous allons commencer le travail pour mener ça, faire ça en réalité. Pour nous faire ça, nous ni pour garder compte draft sports, nous pour garder compte bill, sports act là, et nous ni pour revisiter pour nous voir qui différents changements nous ni pour faire, because nous savons en sport nous ni autant développement en fait, et autant changement en sport qu'à prendre place.
Ministre Charles dit loi qui gouverne sports policy ça bien important.
So pour nous ça travail en part, c'est qualité changement. Nous n'y pour garder compte loi nous Dominique qui a gouverner sport. Et bien nous n'y pour garder compte sports policy là. Nous n'y savons nous draft sports policy. Et so nous garder compte draft sports policy et bien nous si nous ça fait final documents policy. So nous garder compte mais pour nous ça fait National Sports Council là. Nous n'y pour revisit sports act là et draft sports policy. So nous pour garder yo pour les nous finir pour nous make sure nous ça mettre toutes ideas ensemble pour nous voir si nous ça establish National Sports Council.
À la nouvelle, ministère pour sécurité nationale, Honorable Ribbon Blackmore, qui a créé pour comité qui a formé par NIPO, ça c'est posé avancer. NIPO c'est organisation qui a responsabilité pour coordination des astres et puis emergency à Dominique. Honorable Blackmore fait parole celle-là pendant qu'il a adressé meeting NIPO en Jimmy Lady. Le ministère a dit qu'il y a une solution pour travailler à ce challenge là. Et de Dominique, c'est un pays qui est vulnérable si le bagage qui affecte le pays. Le ministère a aussi fait parole qu'ils ont fait l'occasion pour nous cacher des astres. C'est une priorité pour le gouvernement. Et ils ont déjà conduit assessment et puis audit pour ça. Et puis finalement, le ministre de l'Agriculture a conduit un survey pour déterminer maladie palm peste qui a affecté palm et puis coco. Si l'office de quarantine vers un anthem, malgré maladie à poco en Dominique, il a mis mise en place où l'office de quarantine en Dominique a gardé en ça.
So ça nous a fait, quand nous dit palm weevil là, poco en Dominique. So ça nous a fait, c'est une surveillance pour nous garder si pas là, scientifically nous le savons si pas là. Et bien il va nous 400 traps, et bien nous allons mettre ça tout en Dominique pour nous garder si pas weevil ça, pas Dominique. Quand il dit encore, il a train ces staff plan protection là pour nous garder comment nous identifier, comment nous faire surveillance, protocole et tout ces bagages ça là. So nous jamais on mis en place, nous pour faire moun ça comment bagages là ça montre, nous avons moun pas mener plan pas nous avec coco cherche en Dominique. So c'est ça nous avons moun. Programme là même pas seulement surveillance, mais nous connaissons ça pour créer quarantine pour quitter ça hot Dominique. So nous avons pas mener pam hot à Robert cette place là qui nous pas mouver. So misi nous avons mis quarantine pour nous pêcher venir. Mais en même temps nous pour faire travail scientifique là pour nous garder si pas Dominique.
Messieurs, mesdames, ça c'est tout pour nouvelles en créole pour à présent. Non, moi c'est McPherson Luce. Au revoir.
How to save money on your grocery bill.
Coming up next on your tip of the day.
The best way to stick to a lower food budget is to pay with cash. When you enter the grocery store with cash in hand, you know exactly how much you can spend. Plus, you stick to the meat and potatoes necessities of your budget rather than your ice cream and cookie impulse buys.
If you still find you're eating high on the hog at the beginning of the month and then scraping by on tuna fish by the end, make a cash run every 2 weeks instead of every month. This way you'll have a better picture of how much you can actually afford to spend each week versus for the entire month. And Tasia, I think I'm going to try this.
You should. I do it all the time. And that's all for this edition of National Focus. We always welcome your suggestions and comments. Drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm or visit our website news.gov.dm.
Like our Facebook page, facebook.com/GIS News Dominica, and follow us on Twitter @GIS Dominica. You can also catch up on past National Focus newscasts on our GIS Dominica YouTube channel. From all of us here on the GIS News Desk, I'm Kimani Saint-Jean.
And I'm Tasia Floissac. Thanks for watching and join us again next time on National Focus.